Sì, lo vediamo.
Si vede.
Sì, perfetto. So I will switch to English because there are important people connected from abroad as well, some friends and even my girlfriend from there. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and thanks a lot to Crafter Software for inviting me and having me at this meetup. As Angelo said, tonight I would like to talk with you about imposter syndrome, how to defeat this feeling. And this talk is very personal. It's basically a part of my personal story. So I think that it would be better that I start presenting myself. Hello everyone, I'm Matteo. I'm a senior software developer, pizza lover, traveler, runner, blockchain, and crypto enthusiast, not in this order. I was born in the south of Italy, in Foggia. I moved to Rome. I lived there for a few years. Then I lived in Milan for another few years. And now I'm living in Barcelona. I'm working for Europcar Mobility Group. They bought a company named Ubico in the car sharing world. And I'm working on the connected car platform for this company. That's my LinkedIn, and that's my trademark on Slack. It is the typical Italian gesture. So now that you know me a little bit more, I would like to know you as well. So I would like to start with some questions before getting into the core content of the presentation. Basically, the questions are pretty simple. Have you ever felt like you don't belong where you are? Is everyone at your office way more talented than you? And do you think that you don't deserve what you achieved in your career and your life? So for answering to this question, I would like you to go to this site, sli.do, and enter the code ISQ1. And then when you finish with this question, same site, and just change the code ISQ2, and let's see your answers in live. So let me go to the screen here. Waiting for you to answer. I will give you a minute. I saw that we are like 20 people more or less, so I'm expecting everyone that is in front of computer, so please answer to the question. I'll wait a little bit more, like 10 to 15 seconds, to give the opportunity to everyone to answer. Anyway, as you can see from the first results coming from this poll, more than 90% of people felt this way at least once in their life. So it's kind of common situation. And second question was, are you feeling like this right now at your current workplace? And roughly 67% are feeling in that way. But I will wait a little bit more because here only 3 people answer to this question. So please go ahead. I'll give you other 10 to 15 seconds. But anyway, results seems quite consistent. More than half people that are connected and answering to this question are feeling this. So I'll show you what happened in Milan when I came back in October presenting this talk for the Google Developers Group. That day, 82% said that they were feeling this way, so they were facing this imposter syndrome, or they were having self-doubts about their career and their life. And more than half people that time said that they were feeling that way at that in their current workplace. So it seems that I am not alone having this feeling. We are in very good company. So why I decided to talk about this imposter syndrome? Well, it all happened in June last year, more or less. I was on the beach in Mungat. enjoying one of the many sunny days here in Barcelona. I checked my email. There was an article really interesting around the imposter syndrome, so I read it. And I had something to say around this topic. So I decided to write a post on LinkedIn. But as you know, over there, we have only 1,500 charts to write. And I had to say something more around this topic. So I prepared some slides and I made a presentation in my company. And then from those some slides, I went to more than 100 slides. They are mostly pictures, so don't be scared about it. It will be quick, more or less. So my aim here is to share my experience around this topic and show you that it's not that bad after all. So let's start with my story, more or less since the beginning. In January 2015, I was living in Milan, and I moved from one company named New to Viacom, that is a multimedia company owning many brands like MTV, Comedy Central. It was a very nice opportunity, many interesting projects to work on. One of them was creating this one single application, Playplex, for watching TV on mobile. It was first trial for the company. I worked on the API. It was quite nice opportunity. We scaled up to many countries. We reached a huge use base. It was amazing. So the company thought, why we don't do the same exercise that we did for mobile applications, even for the web? And so from Playplex, we built Webplex. And that was the path that companies followed along the years, and I think that they are still doing it right now. But in 2018, I was having a good time over there in Viacom. I had plenty of nice colleagues. I was working on an amazing company, good projects. But after 3 years being there, I needed something different, something more. So I was looking for a challenge. It was not clear to me what I was looking at. So I started studying random topics, random technologies that were not related to my day-to-day job. And every now and then I was going to LinkedIn to check if there were any good opening. Then in July that year, 2018, I went to Croatia on vacation. This is the view that I was enjoying from the Airbnb that I booked. And I started having this crazy idea. This is what I want in my life every day: sea, sun, and sand. And this was a recurrent thought during those days. But then I had to come back to Milan. Vacations were over. Well, Milan is an amazing city. I really enjoyed being there. I stayed there for 4 years and more. But I'm not used to winter and autumn that are gray and cold. So I was looking to something else. And I started looking more carefully on LinkedIn for checking to new opportunities. But there are way too many options over there. So I needed to narrow down the list. And I remember that I always loved Barcelona. So I started looking specifically at job openings over there. And I found this position that was this job opening that was quite interesting. They were looking for passionate senior PHP developer that were eager to pursue a career in Golang, so changing completely their tech stack. It was really interesting, really appealing to me. Problem is, was expired, so it was not possible to apply to that job opening. Nevertheless, I wrote to the recruiter for that position, Barbara Iranzo. I sent her a cold email. I presented myself. It's pleasure to meet you. I saw this job posting, and is this position still available? I knew that was closed, but I tried. And I was lucky because she wrote me after a couple of days, and we started our conversation. So I started the recruitment process with Barbara and with Ubico. And in September, I got an offer from them. So it was time to ride to Barcelona. In December, was coming the time to say goodbye to my dear friends over there and start this new part of my life. This picture was taken in a place that I love over there in Milan. It's named Il Priscio. They make panzerotti. So when the lockdown will be over, please go there. December 27th. I took a one-way flight to Barcelona, and I was ready to start a new chapter of my life over there. And in January the 2nd, 2019, I started the onboarding in Ubico. And it was, as expected, quite thrilling as an experience because there were many technologies and many new things to learn. Problem is, maybe there were too many things to learn. So I felt overwhelmed by all this stuff. In the past, I was used to work on PHP or Java, on Amazon Web Services. And now I had to work on Golang, make services communicating through Kafka or gRPC, orchestrated on Kubernetes, deployed on Google Cloud Platform. So it was completely different. Amazing because I learned a lot, but I felt overwhelmed. And so the questions that I asked you at the beginning were bugging me. Crap, everyone in this office is way more talented than me. How is it possible that they hired me in the first place? What were they thinking? And what the hell I'm doing here? I don't belong here. So these were questions that I was asking myself every day. So was imposter syndrome? Was it self-doubt? Whatever you want to call it, I was feeling in that way. So let's start defining what is imposter syndrome. This syndrome was firstly defined in 1978 by two psychologists named Clance and Imes, and they said that this feeling is foreignness in people who believe that they're not intelligent, capable, or creative, despite evidence of high achievement. Another definition is from Cambridge Dictionary, feeling that your achievements are not real, or that you do not deserve praise or success. Last definition that I want to give you is from Dr. Valerie Young. She's a psychologist. She said, people who feel like imposters have an unsustainably high self-expectation around competence. No one likes to fail, but imposters experience shame when they fail. While I was doing some research around this imposter syndrome, I realized that there is no one imposter syndrome. There are actually 5 kinds of them. One is the perfectionist. People like this set excessively high goals for themselves. They are control freaks. And so basically, if they want something done right, they need to do it by themselves. Then there is the superhuman or superman. They are often pushing themselves to work harder and harder to measure up. Then there is the natural genius. If they take a long time to master something, they feel shame. And same is happening if they are not doing right on the first try. Then there is the soloist. People like this refuse to ask for assistance because they need to prove their worth. And if they are asking for help, they would reveal their phoniness. And then there is the expert, that is believing that we'll never know enough, and they are feeling to be exposed as incompetent or inexperienced. But when I was doing this exercise of researching around this topic, I discovered that there is also someone that is feeling like the exact opposite. Some people believe that they are smarter and more capable than they really are. And this is happening quite frequently. Just to make an example, during family gatherings, could be Christmas dinner, Easter dinner, whatever, during the meal, having the meal, a member of the extended family start talking about a random topic, and they talk a lot. Problem is, everyone is realizing that this person doesn't know anything around it, but nevertheless is convinced that everyone is uninformed and is the only one right. This cognitive bias is called Dunning-Kruger Effect. It is named after the researchers, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, that first described it. They made some studies around this phenomenon. They performed a few tests around this situation, and they came to very interesting results. For example, in this diagram, you can see that people who scored in the very low end of this test tests were on grammar, humor, and logic. These people were dramatically overestimating how well they performed. Like people in the 12th percentile said that they were in the 62nd percentile. On the other hand, people that performed quite well were underestimating their performance. So for putting it plain and simple, high achievers have self-doubt, while low achievers are flamboyant. This other graph is basically showing our learning path. Usually, when we approach a new topic, we know nothing around this topic, and our confidence is pretty low. Then when we start studying this topic, our confidence tends to spike up, and we tend to take stupid decisions. So we reach this peak command stupid. And from there, we fall into the valley of despair because we realize that we know nothing around the topic. Nevertheless, during this falling, we learn something by the mistakes. And if we are stubborn enough to keep studying the topic, we go through the slope of enlightenment, where knowledge and confidence are growing in end. And then we reach the plateau of sustainability, where confidence and knowledge are very high. This Dunning-Kruger effect is really bad for ourselves. And this is a silly but really nice example. There is a person that a few years ago confused the invisible ink properties of lemon juice with the possibility of making everything invisible using lemon juice. So he smeared on his face lemon juice, and then he went to a bank for robbing it. And he was not happy because he went to another bank and robbed even this other bank. And then by the end of the day, he was caught by the police because his face was on the videos of the banks. And he asked to the police, how is it possible that you recognize me? Because I had lemon juice on my face. And this person was not stupid because he made a test before going to the bank. He actually took a selfie with a Polaroid, and the picture was white, only for one reason: the film was defective. So this Dunning-Kruger effect is basically incompetent people are not only poor performers, but are even unable to assess and recognize the quality of their own work and their own abilities. Moreover, they are not able to recognize skill and competence of other people. So that's the reason why they are not able to see good in other people, and they feel always better than anyone. Problem of this Dunning-Kruger effect is that this incompetence is not leaving people disoriented or cautious. It's quite the opposite. These people are feeling super confident, and they feel that they are kind of knowledgeable around the topic, even if it's not true. And just to be clear, not only incompetent people are affected by Dunning-Kruger, because even people that are good experts in some areas may mistakenly believe that these skills can be carried over to other areas where they are less familiar. For example, a brilliant scientist maybe is a very poor writer, or is really bad at communicating his or her ideas. So the reality is that everyone is susceptible to this phenomenon. And in fact, I would say that every one of us is experiencing it quite regularly during our life. And just to be 100% clear, this Dunning-Kruger effect is not synonymous with low IQ. And this scientist, wannabe writer example, explained it quite well. So I cannot say that I'm affected by Dunning-Kruger effect on some topics, but I can say for sure that I have plenty of self-doubts. So am I the only one having these self-doubts? This researcher, Sandeep Ravindan, in his paper, said that it has been estimated that roughly 70% of people will experience signs and symptoms of imposter syndrome at least once in their life. And this self-doubt and imposter syndrome are quite common across all industries, so it's not specific to one industry. But obviously, with this increasing pressure to be successful in the IT field, with the high pace and the changes that are happening in the IT world, obviously this is taking a toll on the employees of this field. And this is affecting more than half workers, me included, as it seems. There is this anonymous workplace social network named Blind that in the summer of 2018 conducted a survey. They asked a pretty simple question to their users. Do you suffer from imposter syndrome? And user base of this social network includes like 44,000 Microsoft employees, 29,000 from Amazon, 11,000 from Google. So huge companies. At the end of the survey, a total of 10,000 users answered. And the result was that more than half, 58%, were suffering from imposter syndrome. And in this diagram, you can see that obviously there are companies where it's more relevant, this phenomenon, like in Expedia, 73% roughly, and companies where it's less relevant, like Apple with 45%. But nevertheless, it's more or less the half of the work force of the company. So it's a lot. Which are the common traits of this imposter syndrome? Well, you have difficulty accepting praise. You are an overworker. You feel that you need to be the best. You are described as a perfectionist by other people. The fear of failure can paralyze you. You avoid showing confidence, and actually you are dreading success. You compare your struggles to those of others, and you associate praise with charm over actual talent. You focus more on what you haven't done, and you are convinced that you are not enough. So, what are the factors that are contributing to this syndrome? Well, for starters, for sure, nature and nurture. Nature, because there are some people that are more than others emotionally reactive and self-focused, and nurture because of childhood conditioning. I think that it happened to everyone, that we are boxed in a definition, like he's a good child, clever child, funny child, shy child, and in the process, we suppress our real feelings. Then there are family expectations, like perfectionist parents, you can do better, I know you can. A change in setting could be academic or professional. You change job, you go to the university, stuff like this. Then there are gender stereotypes, racial identities, and obviously even previous medical conditions like anxiety and depression. How this imposter syndrome is affecting us? Well, it reduces our productivity, slowing us down. It makes us poor decision makers. We are not willingly sharing our ideas and thoughts. We engage in self-protective behaviors. We are regularly seeking external validation. We become poor team members because we are not able to take active part to storming phase. And then we have to prepare and work much harder than necessary to make us feel confident. And what is the cost for us? What is the toll that we're paying when we're suffering from this syndrome? Well, we may be missing out some career or life opportunities, withholding ourselves. It makes it more difficult to grow as human beings because we are defending ourselves from the outside world. We lose sight of who we are, and we are basically sabotaging our lives. You may think that only regular people like us are suffering from this syndrome, but there are plenty of famous people that achieved a lot in their lives that suffered in the past, or they are even suffering right now from this syndrome. For example, Sheryl Sandberg, she's the CEO of Facebook, and she has got a foundation in her name. She said that when she was in college and she was called in a class, she was sure that she was about to embarrass herself. And when she was taking a test or exam, she was sure that it had gone badly. And every time that she was doing good at tests or exams, she believed, okay, even this time I fooled everyone, but pretty soon this jig will be up. So I will be busted. And even now, there are still days when she wakes up and she's feeling like a fraud. David Bowie, he said that he had a huge self-image problem and very low self-esteem. And so he was hiding behind obsessive writing and performing because for him, only work was of value in his life. Serena Williams, she said that a few years ago, it was like there were two Venus Williamses in the family. Just an example. When she was at restaurant with family, she was the first ordering, but then after Venus ordered her meal, she changed her mind. Then one day, luckily, she understood that she is not Venus, she is Serena, and so she started her own path. Meryl Streep, she said that she's not able to act, why she's doing it, and why would someone watch her movies? Tom Hanks, he said that how is it possible that I get there, that I achieved so much, and when people will discover me and will understand that I'm a fraud, and everything will be taken away from me. Lady Gaga, she said that even now, there are still days when she feels like a loser. In high school, she was bullied in high school. And so she has to remember that she's a superstar. And there is plenty of people out there that is looking at her for taking example. Then Arianna Huffington, she said that her experience, in her experience, she understood that the greatest obstacle in life is the inner voice that is taking us down. If we record what we are telling to ourselves, you would understand that it's really, really bad. We are negatively talking to ourselves, and it's kind of stupid. So is this imposter syndrome all bad? Well, as I showed you, there are plenty of people that experienced and are still experiencing this feeling, but they achieved a lot in their life. So it's possible to live with it and do great things in our lives. The key is what we do with it. If we allow to this syndrome to push us down, this is limiting our lives because we are hiding who we are and we are sabotaging our lives. But if we are able to acknowledge it, see and accept who we are and find the courage to go for what we want, then we can use this syndrome as a fuel for our journey. And I will give you another example. Alice Pittle, she's a software engineer and blogger. She wrote, I credit my success to imposter syndrome. I wouldn't work half as hard as I have without it. I was constantly trying to prove to myself and other people that I can do this. So what should we do for facing this challenge and overcome this feeling? I think that we should be open with people around us. They are surely eager to help. Then we should find a mentor or a friend to talk about the situation or just to take inspiration from. Identify our strength and recognize our victories. We should not be afraid of making mistakes. We should accept that we had some role in our successes. Then I think that we should store in a file all nice things that people told us. And then it could sound silly, but this is the real truth. We will die eventually, so stop being scared. And I will show you how I applied these points in my own life. So back to my story. When I was young, I studied martial arts, in particular karate. There is a specialty in karate named kata that is basically fighting against an invisible enemy. You are using your best moves. So what I did was going through these points that I just told you, and doing this exercise, I was able to put things in the right perspective and regain balance. So be open with people around us. They are surely eager to help. This is the team that welcomed me in Ubico. George, Edu, Hector, Adam. They helped me really a lot during those first months. And they're still doing it, as well as other colleagues in Ubico. I hope that I will have the opportunity to return the favor soon enough to them. Find a mentor or a friend to talk about the situation or even to just take inspiration from. And here you can see family members, friends, colleagues, and some famous people that made an impact on my life. Identify our strength, recognize our victories. People born in small towns quite often have huge dreams and a limitless dedication to make them come true. I don't know where I read this sentence or if I heard it on a podcast, but I truly believe that this is true. And well, I was born in Foggia in the south of Italy, a small town over there. I had and I still have big dreams and goals to achieve. And moreover, I am stubborn and I will never stop until I get there. I will give you just a few examples. In the center of the picture, it's me in high school. And on the right, it's always me a few years later in New York, in Viacom's headquarters in Times Square, New York. Pretty nice journey. Well, back in the days, I had hair. Now I have nothing because I ran too fast. Then, as I said, in January 2019, I was looking for a new challenge in my life, but it was not clear to me what was the next thing that I wanted. So I started studying random topics. One of the things that I always liked was cryptocurrencies and blockchain. But I never studied these topics. So I took the opportunity and I started studying them. I took two courses online, one on Bitcoin economics, held by Andreas Antonopoulos and Antonis Polimitis from University of Nicosia, and another course on Coursera. It was held by Princeton University, and it was on building applications on blockchain. When I wrote this stuff on my LinkedIn, I was really harassed by recruiters asking me to have interviews. One of these recruiters showed me a very nice project. So I started the recruitment process with this person. And in March, I got an offer from this company, from Bitmain, that is the biggest crypto-related company in the world, with a massive influence and reach. I turned down this offer for other reasons, but that's not the point. I got an offer from a huge company. Then, always last year, I always been quite a shy guy, but nevertheless, I ended up in Tyumen, Russia, opening the Google Dev Fest last year, presenting this talk as a keynote. And even if I was scared, I had so much fun over there. I met so many nice people. And down on the right, you can see me. I'm the only one tanned among Russian people that are super white. I had so much fun over there. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. And here there are just a few of mistakes that I made last year when I took screenshots. As you can see here, fix, hotfix, broken pipelines, and even more hotfixes. Accept that we had some role in our successes. I truly believe that it was not only luck if I worked for great companies and with amazing people. And it was not luck at all, for sure, that I was able to pass technical tests, interviews, and then get job offers from many companies, from startups to big corporations. I was just bold enough to chase and face those challenges, getting out of my comfort zone. Store in a file organized things people told us. This card was made by my friends in Milan when I was leaving Viacom. And when I was leaving Viacom, I got messages from many friends and colleagues from many parts of the world. Brad, American living in Italy, Beppe from Milan, Natalie from Berlin, Daria from Minsk, Fernando from Berlin, Lily from New York, Kai from Berlin. I will read you just a couple of sentences that they wrote me because the perception that they had of me was quite different from what I thought about myself. Brad, for example, said, "There can be only one Matteo Bruno. Thank you for being such a decent human being and pleasure to work with. The new team that you will work with doesn't know how blessed they are." Natalie, thank you for your patience and guidance throughout the last years. Your humor has gotten me through many frustrating days. You are an incredibly skilled developer and just all-around awesome guy. And Daria, you have always been the most supportive and friendly colleague I have ever met, and you were always there if any help needed. And then I got other messages. Now here in Biko. You are the trickster, Mongo man. Thanks for not blaming anyone. Inspiring. Thanks for helping anywhere, anytime. Professionalism. So I had plenty of these messages, and I'm storing them because this is a pro tip that I want to give you. Every time you get a message or email that contains something nice about you, save it, because there will come a time when you are with low morale. Look at it, it will help. And then we will die eventually, so stop being scared. Around this topic, I want to give you 3 aphorisms coming from 3 thinkers that I think that are quite relevant to this point. Tony Robbins said, stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start being excited of what could go right. Susie Kassem said, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Last but not least, Karen Salmanson said, your mission, be so busy loving your life that you have no time for hate, regret, or fear. So how can we turn this bad feeling in a positive energy? Well, remember that you achieved a lot in your life. Just think about it. And I would suggest you to do this simple exercise. Follow these 3 steps. Try to do the same exercise that I just showed you, going through these steps. And you will be surprised by the fact that you did great so far. While doing that, enjoy the exciting feeling of looking back at your life and career and seeing how many wonderful things happened to you. And then repeat this exercise every time you need, because an extra boost of energy is always welcome. So if you go to this point and you recognize how good you are, well, congratulations, you did a great job. Please keep in mind, have no fear of getting out of your comfort zone, because that's where great things happen. No one is immune from self-doubts. We should manage them. We should manage this imposter syndrome and use it at our own advantage to bloom and achieve our goals. We should talk more to ourselves, but not in a negative way. We should not turn us down. We should do like sport champions that are doing this self-talking all the time for getting focused, motivated, and energized. And we are champions too, so we should do it. And we should talk more to people and learn from them, because everyone is a master in something. And then last thing, one more thing, as Steve Jobs was saying, please don't stop believing. Thank you, dziękuję, obrigado, merci. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Matteo. I think there is a little bit of time to ask you some questions.
Yep.
Please put your question inside the chat. In the meanwhile, I will show you a QR code in order to leave a nice feedback to Matteo. One moment. Okay, if you go to menti.com and put the code that you show on the screen, you will have the possibility, the chance to leave a feedback in real time. In fact, just a couple of minutes while people ask to you some questions.
Yeah, sure.
Then after the QA time, I will switch in Italian.
Yeah, yeah.
Se sentite qualche rumore di litigio, sono i miei vicini. Matteo, there is a question to you in the chat.
Yeah, I see it. So what is the learning curve of the imposter syndrome? Well, I would say that was what I described you, this experience was not the first time that it happened to me. So when it first happened, a few years ago, it was kind of drama because I was not ready to it. Now that I'm older, I've got some experience, I faced it in a better way. So I would say that for me, obviously, this is not a disease. It's not a medical condition. So when we realize that it's something that it's manageable by ourselves, just looking at what we did, because we did something good for sure, then you start switching the perspective. Obviously, you are low in morale when you are facing this situation, when you are overwhelmed. But when you think about what you did good in the past and you were able to solve problems, you will solve even this new one. And so perspective is changing. So this is my thought around this question. And thanks a lot for the question.
Ok. Se non ci sono altre domande vado alle conclusioni, ma intanto ti ringrazio e ti faccio un applauso.
Grazie mille.
Grazie per aver partecipato. Okay, no, there is another question, sorry.
Yeah, from Alessia. I think that I met Alessia last year at a CTO course from Facebook.
Bravissimo, che memoria.
Sì. So your question is, what are the things you are looking for in a coach mentor right now? Nice question. Well, I can make an example. In my current company, we have an agile coach that is acting even as a mentor for junior people, and I am always mentoring junior people in my team. So I think that empathy is the first thing, because hard skills can be learned. Soft skills instead should be trained, and it's the hardest part, because hardest thing to do, because learning a new programming language, I would say that it's quite easy, but being able to be empathetic with someone and try to communicate with people in an effective way is the hardest thing. So having this empathy, this ability to talk with different kind of people, someone could be shy, someone could be easier to approach. This is the real difficulty. And so I think that a coach and mentor should be good in understanding who is the person that has got in front and tailor-made the talk to these people.
Okay.